Hello all. Alright, on some of my last videos I get these quite dire predictions of violence and starvation and desperation in just a few years. Actually, I don't think it's quite going to be like that, because I tend to go with what history teaches us. Let's go find out what happens when humans run out of food and everything they need to live. There are many studies in history about this, and lots of people have gone through this. Let's go find out what happened over at Easter Island. A group of Polynesian sailors wanted to get away from bad times where they lived, so they took off out into the ocean. Polynesians were known for their sailing and their ships and their ability to last for up to several months out in sea and living off the sea. So they found this island called Easter Island. It was a tree-covered island, very large for such a small group of people. So they settled on the island and began to cut down the trees to make houses. They split off into 3 different groups, 3 different tribes. They were all a king-type tribe. They had kings. So for hundreds of years, these people lived on this island, fished around the island, and was able to survive. And their population kept growing and growing. While their population grew, the wildlife on the island and around the island started to disappear. The people of Easter Island called themselves Rapa Nui and began to build massive monuments called moai out of rock. A lot of you guys have seen these and read mostly about that, so we won't go through the moai thing. But they did spend most of their time carving useless religious statues. Instead of looking after their island and keeping their crops and everything in shape and continuous, they actually cut down all the forests that were on the island. By this time, they had to go quite a ways offshore to fish and find fish to feed themselves with. Once they cut down all the last trees, they had nothing they could use to build boats with. And one tribe started to blame the other tribe for the environmental disaster that they found themselves in. They started to push each other's statues over and fight with each other viciously. Lots of starvation happened, and a lot of people died there. There were so many deaths because of the fighting and the environmental disaster that the island became white with bones, human bones. Then the population was so small, after that they began a new religion, but unfortunately humans from other parts of the world interfered, gave them diseases, and took what few people there were on Easter Island as slaves. So the people of Easter Island really had it bad. That's why it's so important to have a good quality, smart leadership in whatever country you are, because we're all living on an island. Technology has gotten us this far. But in the past, such as Cuba, where they faced a horrible boycott of going to the island because of the U.S., who put sanctions up and didn't allow people to go to the island. So they had trouble getting food. But they didn't fight with each other, and their civilization did not collapse. They got together and learned how to farm, and made a farming community out of their community, sustainable, and they did have some tourism, but basically they took the smart road. They didn't panic, they didn't fight with each other, and they had good enough leadership to know that you have to take drastic measures to help the environment, which then helps you survive. So it really depends on how big the land is, how desperately poor everyone is, and how much food is available, and whether there's a have and have-nots. Now, see, on Easter Island, you had the haves and have-nots. The haves were eating nicely, and the have-nots were starving. Sound familiar? History's quite plain and clear of what's going to happen. When you have a wealthy society in the upper 1% and the rest are barely scraping through, it's just a matter of time before this time bomb goes off. Maybe the yellow vest protests are the beginning. So I appreciate any comments you have, your ups and downs, and the new subscribers. And until next time.